This episode is brought to you by our friends at Brooks Blooms, your all-in-one landscaping solution.
Brooks Blooms' three-step landscaping experience offers a seamless journey from design to construction and ongoing care, ensuring your outdoor space thrives year-round.
Visit brooksblooms.com today to embark on your landscaping journey, where every step is a step towards a vibrant and beautiful outdoor entertaining space. G'day everyone, welcome back to another massive episode of the Ads and Dunks podcast. And what an episode last episode was. We had our guest Mark Howard have had some great feedback on that, which is extremely exciting. We loved having Howie on. But as always, my name's Adsy, and of course my best mate on the other end, Joshy. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, mate. It was a great episode. It was nice to have Howie on, although we did probably talk a bit long. It was an awesome experience for us and, our first guest for quite a while. So good to get back into it.
It was. We probably could have blabbered on for probably another hour and a half. It was just that also comforting, I reckon. It was just comforting. Like I felt like I was sitting in the lounge room talking a bit of rubbish, beer in hand, just having a yarn with a person who you and I have a lot of respect for. So had a lot of fun doing that. But how's your week, mate? Obviously you guys had a great win, but outside of that, how's your week?
Yeah, it was pretty good, mate. I actually got up to a fair bit. I was sitting there today writing a few things down. Shane Delia, you know Shane Delia? He's a big Bulldogs fan,
nice
mate.
Bulldogs man.
So
he's a Bulldogs man.
He's just recently opened up a restaurant up here called Layla. And we had a bit of a media sort of launch night on Thursday night last week where a few of us boys went down and met Shane for the first time, but I obviously knew him from quite a while ago and to try some of his food. But then Tipper and I went back there on Sunday to have a proper feed and he served us. It was pretty cool. But I highly recommend to those, and you should go there when you come back to Brizzy, mate, test out his new restaurant.
I certainly will. I've seen the photos, which they did. It looked elite, and he's a bit of a guru, isn't he? He comes on on some of our like pre-season camp trips and whatnot, and we go to like some restaurants that he recommends for the boys, and he's a ripper. And I was very envious. It looked very good. Certainly one I'm going to try. I was actually Googling some restaurants today. Speaking of restaurants, and I've booked into here it is here, and a really exciting restaurant on Saturday. Which I'm not sure if you've had Indian cuisine much. Have you? Have you had Indian cuisine much?
Oh yeah, a little bit. Yeah, probably more when I was growing up, but not so much of late.
Well, that's what I was saying. I cannot tell you the last time I went for Indian food. And I was doing a bit of research today. I want to go on a nice little date night Saturday night with Kimmy and bring Georgie along as well. And there's this place called Kolkata Cricket Club. And no, it's not a cricket club. It's not a cricket club. It's called Kolkata Cricket Club, and it's at Crown. It's at Crown. So I Googled the top restaurants in Melbourne, and there was this recent article of a food expert who gave us 10 of the best restaurants in Melbourne as of right now, and that was one of them. It's based at Crown. So I'm going there on Saturday. For our listeners, send me some details, send me some info if you know, because speaking of our listeners, mate, this week, I don't know if your DMs, but my DMs was bombarded with food restaurants and with TV shows to watch. So there's one I'm going to on Saturday. So if you're in the area, come, but give us some recommendations.
Yeah, love that. That was, mate, on our YouTube thing, like our comment section, there was a lot of recommendations for your movies or your TV shows. So I got to send all those through to you. Our mate Billy Jenkins down from Yarram, actually, he sent in a suggestion too. He told me to tell you about it.
Tell me about it. What is it?
He said, I'm just finding it now. Billy Jenkins, he goes, listening to the podcast, tell ads to watch Banshee, Vikings.
Yes, I've heard of it. Banshee, Bansee, maybe. I think that's how it is.
Yeah, and Vikings.
Yeah, so I've got those two. I've had a friend send in Colin from Accounts, and there was also a recommendation of The Shield, actually. So I'll certainly be getting to that, but I'm getting through The Sopranos. But anyway, sorry, mate. How was the rest of your week outside of the restaurant?
Yeah, I got up to a few other things, mates. Have you ever, you would love this, I reckon. Have you ever heard of trading NBA cards? Like, you know how there's a lot of footy cards and stuff that go around? NBA cards. Yes. So for context, years ago, I used, like after COVID or during COVID, I got into it and I bought a few cards, and it was only of late that Darcy Wilmot was talking about it at the footy club, and I was like, hang on. I've got a few cards too. So I got them out and I actually went and got them valued down at the shop. And mate,
here we go.
It was really, really good. Really good.
So are you going to hold on to the cards or are you going to sell them?
Nah, I sold them to the guy at the shop straight away. I couldn't believe it.
What are we talking? Like, give us a card. What card did you have?
So I had one Allen Iverson signed card, and it was I can't remember what card it was exactly, but it was Allen Iverson signed and no sticker or anything. It was pure sign on the card itself. And I think it was worth about $450. And I got it in a raffle, bro. Like $450 for Allen Iverson.
Wow.
Other than that, I got new golf clubs yesterday, as you can see behind me.
Tailor-made
from Drummond Golf down in Wollongabba. And another random thing that I did, I got termite protection for our house because up here in Queensland, it's important to have termite protection. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. I would have thought in general, but I can't say I don't think I've had termite issues here. So knock on wood, that doesn't happen. I want to come back to the cards actually because it's funny you mentioned that. Me and Casey, we were actually talking about trading cards and how it's going crazy at the moment, but different card, different than sporting cards, mate. The cards that we're talking about, which I know Brado will be all over, is Pokemon cards. And big Pokemon fan I am. I love my Pokemon and I still play the games to this day. But we were talking about potentially buying some of the starter packs. You know how you can go on one of those Facebook things and buy one of the starter packs? Anyway, turns out the packs, they're worth like minimum like $1,000 just to open the pack. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm not doing that. Yeah, so the original one. So not, obviously you can go to EB Games and whatnot and get Pokemon cards that are made now or whatever, and it's like $7 or whatever. But the original starter packs that has the original Pokemon, he was telling me like, unless I heard it wrong, but $1,000 to open the original starter packs. And get this, you have to be the lucky one to obviously get one of the good cards. So you might get a Caterpie or a Weedle. Not sure if you know what they are, but they're the bug Pokemons. And I think they're worth about $1. So you could open a $1,000 pack and be stuck with $1 Caterpie or Weedle. So it's actually funny you were talking about the cards because people actually make a living off that, which was blowing my mind because we were doing a bit of research and there was a Charizard, I think one of those, what's it called, bro? Is it PSA? PSA? Is that how you PSA
graded.
One of one. That's it. Was worth, oh mate, it was like 1.5 million or something. And I think, mate, I was like, you're kidding. Oh wow. I should have kept my original Pokemon cards when I was a kid because I loved my Pokemon. So hopefully there's Yu-Gi-Oh comes back in vogue because I've got thousands of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. All right, before we get into the footy, mate, let's get into our Brooks Bloom of the Week, which we promised we would do it at the start of each episode, but I think we've only done it once. So we're going to do it now. You can start, mate. Who's your Brooks Bloom of the Week?
All right. Well, my Brooks Bloom of the Week this week, and I reckon you might be similar, is Josh Giddey, his half-court buzzer beater versus the Lakers. That was mine this week. I was trying to think before what was my Bloom of the Week, and Tipper said, what about Josh Giddey? So I was like, all right, I'll give Josh Giddey a plug, and we should try and get him on here. He'd love it.
We should, actually, and I messaged him after it, and he as a great Aussie man he is, loves his footy. He got back to me. The most iconic thing about that is there's a photo going around of his shot going in, and Luka Doncic is in the background there, and then LeBron James is like right at the front. So that is really cool. That's a good Bloom of the Week. My one isn't that. It would have been as well, but hence you've said that. So I'm happy that we've got that one. Mine is the South Australian cricket team. So they've just won the Sheffield Shield. And I know you're going to be like, because obviously Gus, our boy Gussie, was a part of the Queensland team. So unfortunately wasn't able to win. But I think quite significant for the South Australian side. They hadn't won it in 29 years. And it was actually a great cricket match. Alex Carey being the superstar he is and was able to score a century, as well as Sanger, I think it was, Jason Sanger. So they're my Blooms of the Week, mate.
I love it. I love that. That's a good bloom of the week, although Queensland lost. It's a good one because it's been a long time, I'm fairly sure, like 20-odd years since they'd won
29 years.
a Sheffield Shield. And, yeah, it's impressive. It was a pretty cool thing to watch on Saturday whilst I was waiting for a game of footy on Saturday night.
Yeah, I liked it because the crowd really got into it, which was really sick as well. There was a big turnout there. So, really enjoyed it. Anything else before we get into the footy?
Nah, mate, I don't really have much else. Let's talk about the round that was. I think you got me in the tips this week, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I tipped really well from what I believe. Yeah, I did. Brado can give us an update at the end, but no, it was actually, I think outside of a couple big wins on Saturday, the games are all really close.
Yep.
I think Hawthorn, mate, you wouldn't have seen that game, but they were obviously 6-0 down. And, I think they're probably the two informed teams of the comp as well as you guys. So there's three of yous. But the way Hawthorn were able to fight back, there was a great comment that James Hird said, I think on Monday, how he spoke about Hawthorn are arrogant in the way they go about it, but in a good way. And I couldn't agree more. And again, in the best way possible, they're so confident in the way that they want to play and how they want to play. They're so damn good at it. Reason why they're 4-0. I mean, they were 6-0 down. You could have been like, well, it's clearly not working. The way we're playing isn't working. But, mate, I couldn't agree more with the way James Hird said, how confident they are in the way that they play, because they are playing some – mate, they're actually a joy to watch. I love watching Hawthorn play. Whenever I see Hawthorn come up and I get a chance to watch them, I watch them every week.
Mate, I didn't get to watch that game because we were playing at the same time, but I did check the scores and see some highlights after it. And some of the players that they just come up with, the Wizard just ducking through about 10 blokes and then being able to deliver inside 50. Will Day's goal that he kicked with the breeze, like things like that are just, they're going to be a scary opposition for most teams this year, or all teams, I guess.
I'll tell you an extremely underrated player, and I reckon he's starting to get it now, is Lloyd Meek. Lloyd Meek is the way the ruck
rules in that first episode, brother.
You did. And you'll stick by that. But the way the ruck rules have kind of suited those kind of players, the contest, bash, crash, can get across, use their body, like the perfect player for it. If it wasn't for the way, I guess, Tom, is it Tom DeConning? Not Sam at Carlton. Yeah, Tom DeConning. The way that he's playing, you'd almost say Lloyd Meek is the best ruck in the comp at the moment. That's just, he's so important to Hawthorn and what he brings. It really helps their mids. So, I was so impressed by them on the weekend. What about you? Did anything catch your eye?
No, like your win on Friday night was really good. I thought against the Blues, Chips were down early. You probably weren't playing your best footy at halftime, but to come out and be led by some youth on your list was incredible, mate. That was an awesome watch, and one of your boys is going to feature in my 3-2-1 after this. But another game I want to talk about too is the Gold Coast Suns beating Melbourne by 10 goals, essentially 58 points. Mate, they're looking very good this year, and if they can keep up this form for the rest of the season, then they should play finals, I think. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. I watched all of that game. I spent the whole Saturday watching all the footy and the races. I couldn't agree more, mate. Mac Andrew did an interview throughout the week and spoke about how there was always going to be some teething issues with, Damien Hudwood coming in and implementing a new game style, and it's going to take a while for them to understand. And he was talking about, it's probably going to take about 12 months. Mate, from what we've seen, I think it's probably clear that they're definitely accustomed now in how they want to play, and, again, play such an exciting brand of footy. I mean, they're a very strong contested ball side led by guys like Matt Rowell and Noah Anderson and Took Miller. But when they get the ball on the outside, they're so dangerous. And you get it into any of their users. I think John Noble's going to be a great pickup for them. He clearly used the ball extremely well on the outside. I think it will be the year. I mean, we're going early here. They have only played 2 games. But from what we've seen and what I've seen, I cannot see why they won't play finals. And I think what we will see from them is their home ground will end up being a fortress for them. I feel like teams are going to find it hard when they go up there and play against the Gold Coast Suns. And for them to bank some wins, bank a win already at the MCG, which I don't think they'd beaten Melbourne. I don't think they'd beaten Melbourne, actually. Yeah. Well, there you go. So there's a thing that they've obviously been able to do. So, mate, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, they're going to be a tough side. My Adelaide Crows always going well, mate. Freo in the Derby or the Derby over there was
actually
a good watch as well.
Did any of us tip the best on? Did any of us tip the
I can't remember.
Because I didn't say Sarong. I think I said Jordan Clark. Who'd you say?
I said Harley Reid.
You did say Harley Reid. He's always in the news, isn't he? Your game was really good too. Obviously, watched that really closely, as I always do. I'll tell you what, you boys seem to give up a big score and then just be able to claw your way back. Even during the second quarter, when a couple of my mates we were watching the game together, and they're jokingly saying, "It's over. Geelong have won." I'm like, mate, trust me, Brisbane do this. Every game they've just given up a lead and then they've just come back and clawed their way back. Yeah, you must be pretty pumped with obviously getting the job done.
Yeah, we're happy. Like, it's one of those games that, we haven't been so good in first quarters this year, and to be level, I think, or just below them at quarter time by a couple of points was a focus of ours. But then the second quarter opened up and they kicked a few goals. Full field. They went from our D50 a couple of times to their forward 52 easily. So it was on the back of our mistakes, I felt. But post half time, when you get to come in and look at a few things on vision and talk to the coaches about, where we're sort of lacking or what we're doing wrong, we came out after half time and, really put the foot down. And then that part of the game is so important. But I feel like last year the story behind us was we were really good starters and terrible in third quarters, and it's almost been the flip side of that this year, plus finals last year, I guess. So, you don't want to give up early leads to be able to chase them down, but if that's the way that things pan out, that's the way that happens. But it's been a good start to the year for us, but we're nowhere near our best at the moment, and I'm sure over the next few weeks we'll likely find it, which would be nice.
Yeah, that will be good. And Geelong always seem to play well up there against you boys. Obviously, they beat you up there last time, I think by a pretty decent margin as well. So, as we've both said, there are clearly no easy beats. So, for you guys to be able to come back and do what you did, it was a great game to watch. And obviously, you're flying as well individually, which is even better.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, mate. I didn't use the ball overly well on the weekend. I was a bit disappointed in that, but the conditions made it a bit of a dog fight, and so it was a bit scrappy at the start, but I guess the better we used the ball in the second half, the better we got as a team. So individually, not overly happy, felt like I played my role and did little things here and there, but at the same time, plenty of room for improvement.
Yeah, I knew you'd say that. You're never satisfied. I personally, I'm keeping a tally of the best and fairest for the Brisbane Lions from an outside point of view, and I well and truly think you're winning. Well and truly. I think UB1, Harrison Andrews will be probably second. Dane Zorko will be right about there as well. Zorks is unreal. I mean, the fact that he's still playing at such a high level what is he, 36 now? To turn 36. He's a freak, mate.
Oh, mate, he's insane. And just you've got so much experience behind him, but the energy that he brings to our club is something else. I remember from afar looking at Zorks and being like, this bloke's an absolute pest. But when you know him and you play with him, you just love him. He's just that guy that you just want to have out there with you every week. And there's no surprise as to why he's playing such good footy for us, because he just loves what he does. He loves his job.
No, you can clearly see that when he's out there with the passion that he shows. Hey, before we get into our 3-2-1 votes, I just want to ask you one more thing. Did you see the Ryan Mansell suspension?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just want to know what your thoughts are.
It's a tough one, mate. I don't know. You're in that position and you're just trying to outbody your opponent by pushing him away. I don't think it's hard to say from my point of view, because I wasn't watching the game live, but I don't, from what I've seen, think that his intentions were to push him into that contest. I just think he was sort of pushing him away to try and get him out of the space that the ball was falling into. But yeah, I mean, it's just a tough one because you don't want to hurt anyone in that position. You don't want to be pushing them into a contest and potentially, that guy being out for a long period of time. So It is a tough one, but I guess you just got to follow what the rules and regulations are, because that's what we all talk about is the health and safety of players these days.
And I think that's the priority. That's the message. It has to be the health and safety of the priorities. Sorry, the priorities is the health and safety of the player.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more. You've just got to, as you said, very unfortunate, but now, like we now know as players, that's obviously the expectation, and you got to look after the player. And if you can, obviously do it. It's going to be a talking point, I feel like, for a large part of the year, because obviously we're probably going to see a few more. So that's going to be interesting. Anything else before we do our 3, 2, 1s?
Got nothing else for you, mate. Give us your 3, 2, 1 for the week this week. You go first.
Yeah, I'll go first because you went first last week. So my one is, again, I always try and stay unbiased. So I was unbiased last week because I didn't put a Bulldogs player in when I could have easily put Tommy Liberatore in. But my one vote this week is Tom Liberatore. I know yours is probably going to be Sam Davidson. And Davo was unbelievable. But my one vote goes to Libba. I just feel like he's just playing incredible football at the moment. He's basically doing everything for us. I think he's been incredible. So here's my one vote. My two vote is Jack Sinclair from St Kilda. And again, I watched most of the games on the weekend, and yeah, he had 40 disposals, but mate, his ball use and his vision is as good as anybody's in the league. And when you give him time and space, oh mate, good luck to you. Like, he's just going to cut you up big time. And he was incredible on the weekend. And my three votes goes to Gold Coast Suns, Matt Rowell. I seen this thing today. There was a comment made about by the end of the year, Matt Rowell could be the best inside mid in the competition, pure inside mid. And at the moment, from what I've seen from opening round and this game, like, I probably wouldn't argue with that. His inside work is incredible. I think he had another 13 or 14 clearances, 20 contested possessions. And it goes forward and it actually hits the scoreboard. I don't know if he kicked a goal on the weekend, but he gets shots on goal. And I think that is another stringing that to his bow. So they're my 3, 2, 1.
I like it. My one is going to go to one of his teammates, and that's Tuke Miller. I think he played a really important role. He kicked 3 and had 23 or so touches, high meters gained, and he's in scoring involvements. I think he had 10 scoring involvements as well. So he impressed me watching that game. When you get Anderson and Rao get all the praise, Tuke Miller sort of flies under the radar, and to impact the game like he did was very impressive. My 2 votes is Luke Jackson from Freo. I actually thought he could have won. He could have won the medal. They gave it to Sarong again for the fourth time, which is a record-breaking thing. But I thought Luke Jackson was deservingly a winner of that one. He's such a hard matchup. When you come up against him, you don't really know whether you play a proper ruck on him or someone like a midfielder, because he's the same size as a mid, but he can jump over your head if you're not careful. So such a hard one to match up on. And my 3 votes is Sam Davidson. I thought he was really good on the weekend, and to be in his first year and his third game for the footy club and to play the way that he's playing and holding down that wing for long periods of time just really impressed me, mate. So you've got a good one there in Sammy Davidson.
Yeah, he's an incredible story, and he's a wonderful human being. He's a bundle of energy. You talk about Dane Zorko being the Energizer Bunny. Davo, probably throw him in that category with the big carpy, James Harm. So, he's a ripper, and we're very lucky we've got him.
Anything else before we move on? We've actually got another special guest this week.
We do, mate. I'm waiting for your little intro because I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, so we've got Tayla Williams, who's an Adelaide Thunderbirds player, one of Tipper's very, very good mates. So we're going to get her on after this quick little break. So make sure you stay tuned, because we've got a few stories to obviously share with her, or she's going to share with us, and then talk about a few things that are close to her heart. So looking forward to that. All right, Adzi, we've got our special guest, Tayla Williams, as we talked about prior to the break, joining us. Tayla, welcome. Firstly, how you going?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
That's good.
Super excited to have you on, Tayla. No, I'll go, mate. I want to do a little pump up. We're very pumped to have you on, Tayla. I'll give you a bit more energy because Josh was a little bit quiet there, but As Joshy said, so pumped to have you on. Last week we had a guest for the first time in a very, very, very long time. So you're officially our second guest after a very, very, very long time. So we're super pumped to have you on. Now you go, Joshy.
Geez, mate, we talked about this. We've talked about the routine. I'm meant to ask the first question. You're meant to ask the second one, all right? So, Taylor, my first question to you is to let the listeners know, like our fans that we have on the podcast, a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, your journey to netball. Give everyone a bit of an insight into who you are.
So I grew up in country South Australia, so in the mid-north, not that far out of Adelaide, but still on a farm. Cattle, cropping, sheep, bit of everything, which was nice. Loved kind of growing up out there and played kind of all kind of sports in the country for as long as I could, and then I guess followed a bit of a traditional netball pathway, playing in some of the state teams, into some Aussie squads, and then eventually into the T-Birds. So I've been with them since 2019, which makes me feel a little bit old now going into 2025. But that's a little bit about me.
But let's not talk about old. I'm definitely the oldest out of the three of us. And from what I've heard as well is we're all country folk, the three of us, aren't we, Joshy? I'm a country boy. No, Taylor, I grew up in Dandenong. I'm definitely not a country boy. But I've been on the farm a couple of times with Joshy, so I like to claim that I am. But yeah, so I'll claim it. Although I can see he's smirked there laughing at me. Back to obviously your story. From what I believe, you were a training partner from, as you said, 2019-20, and didn't actually get your first official contract until 2022. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're good.
I just want to ask again, for our listeners, how hard was that, or how much work or an effort did you put in to really, get your opportunity and then obviously get your contract?
Yeah, so I think when I first came into the T-Birds environment was off the back of quite a lot of losses. So I kind of came in when Tanya Obbs first came back into the club, which at that point had not been very successful for a long time. So I, obviously was a training partner in the end for those kind of 3 years. I think I made my debut in 2020 in the hub with COVID, which I know COVID was an awful time for a lot of people, but for me, that gave me a really good opportunity to kind of play. I guess then off the back of that, it was a little bit disappointing to then not get a contract in 2021. And so kind of having those 3 years of being in and around the environment with the players, doing most of the training and having that exposure to the elite level without really getting the opportunity to ever play or, push for a spot. And obviously with the way netball's structured and having your contracted 10 as the only people allowed to play unless you have injuries and whatnot, it kind of just meant you had to sit and wait your turn for a few years until 2022 when I got that contract, which I'm kind of very grateful for, that I had those kind of years leading up with a little bit of a taste test before I got thrown in 2022.
And you talked about the rough times, but for those that don't know, you've actually gone back-to-back the last 2 years, the first year with my partner Tipper, obviously, and last year again after losing a few players. You must still be pinching yourself knowing that you're a part of such a special group, special environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, coming from where the club had been over those kind of first few years or before I was involved, and then the first couple of years of not being so successful, I think made the last 2 years even better. And having kind of that back-to-back premierships is obviously super exciting, but I probably don't appreciate enough exactly what that means potentially until a couple more years down the track, or when you look back when you retire, or those types of things. Obviously, it's been an incredible feat, and playing that first year with Tipper and going from not making finals the year before to playing finals for the first time in 10 years to then winning all in that same year. was a bit of a whirlwind, and then to be able to back it up last year, like you said, with a few changes, I think shows the strength of the club and where kind of we've come from, and having kind of that core group and being able to bring people in and out of that. And I guess similar thing again this year. We've had Shezzy retire and then a new one come in, and see how that goes. But pretty cool when you look back on back-to-back premierships.
Certainly an amazing achievement. I think you're underplaying that a little bit. Both yourself and Joshy are two-time premiership players. I've yet to taste that. Hopefully there's something for me in the near future. But well done, obviously. And there's no reason why you guys can't go back-to-back, which would be incredible. I don't know if any netball team's done that at the elite level. So good luck to you for that. I wanted to ask one more question in regards to your netball. Obviously, you're now, as you touched on, it's basically your sixth or seventh season now, including the train-on years. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you're in the leadership group, or you got added into some leadership group capacity in the last couple of years. Firstly, you must be really proud of that. But secondly, I guess, what have you learnt the most, I suppose, being now a woman in your team that's, I guess, got an added leadership responsibility? How do you take that on?
Yeah, last year was kind of my first year involved in that kind of leadership group, and then lucky again to be involved this year. I think with the group that we've got with Hannah and Shami, and then Till and George, kind of we all are very different in the way that we go about things. I think some of the girls might say that I'm quite direct and to the point with my leadership skills or my leadership style as such, which is probably a bit different to Hannah and Shami. But I think we've built the trust and connection within our group that we can say things exactly how it is, and it's always going to be received really well. And I feel comfortable enough having those conversations, saying what I need to in the moment, and having the trust of my teammates around me, which if I didn't have kind of that trust or expectation within the group, I definitely wouldn't feel as comfortable having those conversations or saying it kind of how it is. I think it also does come a little bit more difficult with centre and playing in the middle and trying to connect with everyone on the court when you're kind of in and amongst everyone but not really next to someone as such on the court, to be able to have those nicer conversations. And you know what it's like in the heat of the moment where you just need to get your message across. If things are going well or not going so well, you just need to be able to get it done and say what needs to be said as quickly as possible. And I think that is something that I'm potentially a little bit better at doing in the moment, which is kind of how I balance those around me. But it definitely is playing to each other's strengths within that leadership group and, balancing each other out.
Yeah, there's no surprise as to why you're such a good club when you can be so direct with each other and you have that trust, I guess, within the leadership group. Moving on from netball now, you are a big advocate for females that suffer from endometriosis, for those that don't know. So talk to us about your journey through that and what you've experienced. How long did it take you to get diagnosed? Because I'm fairly sure it takes a long time for that to happen. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so talk to us about your journey. How's that been for you?
Obviously, I right from kind of probably 15-ish was for the first kind of time that I noticed that something wasn't quite right with my menstrual cycle and kind of in that female health space. To answer your question about the diagnosis, I eventually got a diagnosis in 2022. So kind of 7 years post probably thinking something maybe wasn't right. I'm not about to sit here and say when I was 15 years old I knew something wasn't right, because that absolutely wasn't the case in the situation that I was in. And I feel like we have made some progress but still not as good as we need to be, that I just had no idea what was right, what was wrong, what was normal, what your cycle should have looked like or was meant to look like. I just didn't have any of that education at all throughout any of my schooling or in any other kind of environment. So I struggled initially with playing netball, and it was picked in my first state team when how heavy my periods were and the amount of blood that I had, and managing kind of those types of symptoms meant that I was really fatigued. I was struggling to sleep. And then you know how much that impacts performance when you're not sleeping and you're so fatigued. So that was kind of my first couple of warning signs, but I was very lucky with my progress. I know it did take 7 years to officially have my diagnosis, but I was able to see some medical professionals, GPs, gynecologists, relatively easily to an extent, whereas I know that it's really hard for some people to get in and get those appointments. And I was lucky enough that I saw a pretty good female health GP when I was about 18 or 19 when I first came to Adelaide. I know growing up in the country, you don't necessarily have as much access to those health professionals, and I wasn't confident enough to say I need to go to Adelaide or I need to travel or have kind of put as a priority at the age that I was at, because I didn't really understand it well enough. And so it wasn't until I moved to Adelaide when I was like 18 that I then started seeing more of the gynecologists and health professionals, and they suspected that it was endo probably relatively early on in that kind of plan. But with where I sat with netball being in, coming into the T-Birds environment, having Aussie 21s, those kind of netball related opportunities, I never had the time or never wanted to sacrifice training or playing over having a surgery. And for me, all my scans came up completely fine. So there was nothing without going in for the surgery that they could determine that it was or wasn't endo. And so sometimes an MRI or an internal ultrasound can pick up or detect endo or some of those other female health conditions, but most of the time they don't. And the only kind of proper diagnosis method is surgery. And with that, it can be maybe a 6-week recovery, but it can be a hell of a lot longer than that if they find more, or depending on what kind of they find in that surgery, so to speak. So long-winded answer, 7 years to finally in 2022, when I was past all those kind of Aussie programs, too old to kind of be in those, that I then had a little bit more of an off-season to have that surgery and finally get my diagnosis.
Wow, that's amazing, Taylor. That is, that's actually amazing that you're still able to perform at such a high level and, have been a part of such a successful environment, clearly, but yourself individually perform at a high level. That's, I applaud you. And again, I always fully respect, I guess, the women's body. Us men, we don't have to deal with, the stuff that you guys have to, and the respect level. And again, hearing your story and you talking about how, you don't want to sacrifice, your game because you don't want to spend time on the sidelines, whatever it may be. Totally get it from that point of view. But again, an amazing story. And I love that you're such an advocate for this. For you, my question will be is how, now that you obviously know your diagnosis and, that's a part of you, how do you deal with that going into games?
First of all, I just want to say why I remember that the fact that you males and you two are having this conversation makes me so happy, because obviously from a female's perspective, like, I feel like I speak about this all the time and I'm more than happy to speak about it, but to have it kind of acknowledged and recognised in kind of the male space. And I know, like you said, you don't necessarily have to deal with it yourself, but to have the support and to be able to speak about it and start these conversations is super important. So thank you. It's something that I can't say that I've nailed yet and still a work in progress. I think the biggest thing with endo is you can do everything right and still have a flare up. And most of the time there's things that you just can't control, and you wake up one day and if you're feeling shit, you're feeling shit, and that's just what it is. So I have a lot of different kind of management strategies. Like, there's no cure for endo. There's nothing that's going to stop her completely or make me not have pain, but it's about those kind of management strategies and tools that I put in place that try and help me. So my number one is sleep and making sure I'm getting more sleep, a lot more sleep than the average person, pretty much. As athletes, we need more sleep than the average person as is. And then I feel like I need that little bit more to make sure I'm as rested as possible. And another big thing is like reducing all that stress, and stress makes my pain a lot worse. And so I know it's really hard when you're trying to not stress and then you stress about the fact that you're stressing and you kind of get into that cycle, but trying to take away any of those external factors that I can just be as relaxed as possible, whether that's some mindfulness, meditation, breathing exercises, planning everything in my life. I'm a bit of a control freak. So if I've got everything organised, I'm in control, then I feel like I can dial back some of those stresses. My nutrition, making sure on days sometimes I don't feel like eating, I don't feel like consuming as much food, implementing my other strategies like more liquid-based foods and juices and smoothies and those things that are going to overcompensate for the fact that I don't have as much energy or I'm in pain and my body's fighting through pain, but trying to load it up with kind of other things that can give me enough energy to try and get through, as well as I use some like pelvic floor physios. They're really good and super underrated and something all females should access. Some heat belts, kind of lots of different things, but there's not one thing that will fix it or will help me. It's kind of using a little bit of everything, as well as my medications and some extra kind of supplements that have a little bit of research that might help, but doing what you can where you can.
Yeah, it's been a great insight, Taylor. I've just got one more last question for you. You just talked about a few things then, like some tips and stuff like that, but what's one thing that you would recommend to women that are struggling with it?
I think it's that you can do everything right and still have a flare up. I think endo's so out of your control. Like, you can eat all the right things, you can have enough sleep, you can do absolutely everything to a perfect T that should be textbook, be in the best situation possible and still be in pain. And more so accepting that you've done what you can and surrendering to the fact that there's nothing else that you can do. You've just got to ride it out and not being so hard on yourself, because then when you get more so worked up about it or that a little bit harder on yourself, you then start to stress, which makes pain worse. And so catching yourself in that cycle of, you know what, it is what it is. I'm accepting it. I've done what I can. There's nothing else I can do. I've tried what I can try, and that's just what it is. So being kind to yourself.
Good advice. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you for coming on and talking to us about netball and endometriosis. We really appreciate it, and hopefully you have a good season again. All the best, apart from against us Firebird fans up here. But thanks again, Taylor. We wish you all the best for the rest of the year.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thanks so much for having me, guys, and thanks for starting the conversation.
All right, Adzi, another great chat with a very special guest in Tayla Williams. Unbelievable, her story and how she's able to do what she does with such an incredible condition, I guess, in endometriosis.
That's the word, endometriosis. So the reason why I didn't say it is because I didn't want to stuff up, obviously, the wording. But, you're right, mate. And very thankful to Tayla, because we obviously – we only organised this morning, really. So, very thankful, and what an amazing insight into just something that us, man, that we don't obviously think about, or we have to deal with. You take that for granted, don't you? You obviously take for granted things that, that aren't out of our control. So, amazing interview. Make sure you have a listen and send us in your thoughts, our listeners.
Absolutely. We'll move on now to this week's games. We've got a few. I've got to catch you on the tipping, mate, but a few cracking games this weekend. Started off on Thursday night with Collingwood and Carlton. Who you backing here, mate?
Mate, this is a ripper. It's just Collingwood. Carlton are really copping it down here in Melbourne, mate. They are really copping it, and it reminds me of a few years ago when obviously they were copping it quite a bit, and we stuck up for them and ended up making a prelim against you boys. The thing is, watching them really closely again on Friday against us, like they've been in every game. That's the thing. They were in the game, obviously, against Richmond. They probably should have won from the position they were in. And then, obviously, they played Hawthorn. They were in the game right to the end. And then against us, same thing. I really appreciate their contested side of the game that they play. They play a really good contested brand of footy. And that really sticks true, especially when it comes to finals footy. So, again, being someone who I understand the passion of fans and whatnot, and when they see, their team not perform, they quick to make a decision on how shit they are and this and that. But, mate, I still think if they get their, fix a few things here and there, they're going to be a good side. And look at their list. They've got a great team on paper, and I have no doubt in my mind that it'll click. And I've got a passionate one of my closest friends, Millie, he's a diehard Carlton fan, and he's thrown it out. He says, yep, the years of whitewash. And I was like, mate, trust me, they play a good brand of footy. It'll click for them eventually. And whether it's this week, who knows? My gut feel is because they always play well against Collingwood. They always seem to find another gear against Collingwood. My gut feel is they come out and they win the game. And I don't know why I think that, because Collingwood are a very, very good side, and they've shown that, obviously, the last 2 weeks. But I'm going to tip Carlton for some reason. I just have a feeling they're going to get the job done. Yeah,
I feel like the tide's about to turn too. I agree with everything you just said, but I feel like the Pies will get it done this week, and the media noise will only get worse. But I'm totally with you, mate. I feel like the Blues have got such an incredible list of players. They've got a great team that they put out there every single week, great coaching staff, great footy club. And yeah, it will turn soon. So to have faith as a supporter, I mean, mate, we were 0-4 last year at the start of the season, and people were writing us off, and look what happened in the end. So long as the game is working the way that they would want it to be, and that they're seeing things in their game that's going to help them in the long run, then they wouldn't be caring about one bit about what's being said out in the media. So it's a great call, and I think they'll have a cracking game on Thursday night, but at the same time, I think the Pies will be too good.
I agree with you, mate.
Next game is Geelong and Melbourne down at the Cattery in Geelong. Who are you tipping?
There's another team, mate, under pressure, far out. I want to hear your thoughts. Go.
Well, Melbourne play well down at Geelong, I'm fairly sure. I'm just looking at their previous meetings. GMHBA, Geelong won the last one there. I know that Geelong won the last two. Yeah, actually, my theory's wrong.
Well, the games are probably close. They're probably wrong. Yeah. I remember Zach Tui kicked the game winner after the siren in one of the games. But no, they do play GMHBA well. I just think teams really rally off obviously not winning, and they're in the same boat, mate. They obviously would be very disappointed with how they played. So, mate, I expect it to be a great game. I think Geelong will be too good. Because Geelong at the same time as well, mate. They obviously they've lost their last two. So, yeah, it's interesting. I love how the season starts to take shape. I love it. We're up to round 4 already, and you start to see the teams that, are going to ebb and flow, and who are going to be up the top, who are going to be down the bottom. So it's going to be a good game. I think Geelong, though.
Yeah, I think Geelong too. Speaking of teams that are showing their true colours this year, the next game is Gold Coast Suns versus Adelaide at Gold Coast. This is going to be a cracking game. I wish I could tune into this, but I'm playing 3 hours later, so I probably won't be able to see it.
This actually could almost be game of the round for me. Yeah. Whoa. Look, I'm just going to have – obviously, I know you're going to say Adelaide because they're your boys, but I'm going to back the Gold Coast Suns. What I said earlier in the potty, I think playing up there is going to be a bit of a fortress for them. And I reckon, I reckon they'll get the job done.
Yeah, I'll tip the Crows. I'm tipping them. They're having a good year. I just think Like I watched them again I think they played Sunday against North, and their ball movement from D50 to forward 50 to score is like lightning quick, mate. Like you blink and they're already down there and they've put it through the sticks. So I've been very impressed with the way they've been playing and the scores that they've been putting up. So I'm going to tip the Crows. The next game is ours, which we'll talk about shortly. And then Saturday night is North Melbourne versus the Sydney Swans at Marvel Stadium.
I think Sydney will start to get it rolling. But yeah, North have been really impressive. It'll be a close game, Sydney. But I'm tipping Sydney. Yep.
Yeah, I'll take Sydney too. I think Sydney will be too good. Sunday games, Giants versus West Coast at NG Stadium.
I think the Giants will be a bit too strong. I mean, yeah, they'll be too strong.
Yep, I'm with you on that too. Port v the Saints at Adelaide Oval. This is a good matchup too.
Good game. Saints have won their last two. They actually played, I think, Adelaide Oval round one as I'm looking. Yeah, they did. So, yeah. No, I think Port are a very good side at home. And I know you agree with that. They're very good at home. And, yeah, I think they'll be too strong. But I wouldn't be surprised if Saints get the job done. But I'll tip Port.
Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of weeks for the Saints. They've been in Adelaide, I'm fairly sure, against Adelaide. And then they've come back to Melbourne, then gone back to Adelaide. And then they're playing in Adelaide next week because it's Gather Round. So 3 weeks in Adelaide, which is pretty different for a preparation for the Saints. But I'll tip Port as well. I think their home crowd will rock up and they'll get the job done. All right, let's go straight into your game, mate. This is another cracker. Freo Dockers v the Bulldogs. Give us a bit of an insight into what the noise is like down at the footy club at the moment.
Yeah, this is a beauty. So we've got the last game of the round, Optus Stadium. I was super excited. I mean, we haven't really looked at Freo yet because it's a late game, as you know. But obviously they won their first game for the year on the Sunday. And we seem to play them quite a bit every year. We play them twice. I reckon we play them twice a year most years. So we see them quite a bit. But we haven't been able to get them over there, which has been a little bit frustrating from our end. But no, I'm extremely confident. I feel like the fact that we've been able to, I guess, play out games right to the very end, and we've played every game out right to the very end. We obviously just lost to Collingwood by a kick. We're in front with about 5 minutes to go. Pretty hostile. Well, it was. I know 80,000. It was our home game, but there was a lot of Collingwood fans there. Really excited about this one because, again, away from home, going to be really hostile. We've still got, some young players, and you mentioned Sam Davidson, guys who are still gaining some invaluable experience whilst we're waiting for the likes of Bonte to get back. So, super excited. I can't wait to see how we're going to go about it. Obviously, they're super strong around the ball. So, if we can match them around there, which I think on the weekend our tackle efficiency was number one for the round, which is something that, we want to pride ourselves on. So, expect to be a strong contest, but looking forward to seeing how the boys go about it. Fully confident we can really take it up to them. Yeah,
it's going to be a cracking game. As you said, the previous few matchups you've had over there have been very close and could have gone either way. So I'm looking forward to watching that one on Sunday afternoon. Our game against the Tigers on Saturday is going to be a great experience for us. It's the first time we've been back to the G since the grand final, first time in Melbourne this year, and the boys are very excited. We had a look at the Tigers today in our opposition analysis meeting, and yeah, mate, they are playing some exciting football for the youth that they've got in their team. But if you think about the youth, like the talents that they have in their team, they're all very high draft picks, very skillful players. So if you give them an inch, they will take an absolute mile on you, I feel. So we're going to have to be at our best come Saturday afternoon. And yeah, again, it's going to be a great matchup for us. So hopefully we can, as I was talking about earlier, get a bit more consistency across the 4 quarters and, play a good game of footy against Richmond, who I'm sure will be out there to beat us.
Absolutely, mate. And I think that's the exciting thing as a Richmond fan. Obviously, they're not probably, other than the first game, not finishing the games off well, but you can see the experience that the young players are gaining. And I remember when I was a youngster coming through at the Giants, probably different for you because you won the flag in your first year, but my first 2 years, we only won 3 games. So knowing the games when we were coming up against, for instance, the reigning premiers. So you boys being the reigning premiers, it's an exciting matchup that they're looking forward to because they now they can see where they're at against the best team in the competition. So I'm expecting them to really come out with the freedom to just not worry about, making a mistake and really come at you. And I think back to the game 2 years ago, I think you guys might have lost to Hawthorn when Hawthorn weren't travelling too well at the MCG. And so as well as anybody, you just can't take any team lightly.
No, that's definitely true. And I feel like, as we talk about every week nearly, it's like every team in the competition these days can beat you if you're off your game in any given game. So, we have to be prepared. All the things that we do normally, similar to last week, we do this week. Like, nothing changes in terms of that. And we are, full steam ahead into Saturday against the Tigers.
Mate, the thing I look forward to the most when I watch Richmond play these days is seeing what colour headband Camden McIntosh wears, because I love it. I love it, mate. I think it looks elite.
Yeah, it does look funny. It's because it's not a headband. It's actually a sweatband, isn't it? Because it's a thick one.
I don't know. I don't wear headbands or sweatbands.
It's a sweatband.
It's becoming pretty cool. I like it. I can't wait to see him roll. You never know. He might go to you. He's been doing a couple of tagging rolls, so we'll see.
You can't say that you don't see headbands around, mate. The Dogs have that many of them. Come on.
Yeah, but I've never really paid attention to it, or given it any attention really. Because, mate, I'm not going to wear a headband, so I'm not worrying about it.
Why don't next time you go out on the track, wear a headband and get your social media person to take a photo of you or a video. And I want to see the video of everyone's reaction when you walk out on the track with a big Nike headband on or something.
All right, done. Done deal. You heard it here first. I'll do it.
All right. Beautiful.
All right, move us on, mate. What are we up to?
We are up to our curly question. I've got a curly question for you.
Anyway, I better get going.
No. So I was driving out to the club today and thinking about, what am I going to ask Ads? And so this is a bit of context from my life, and I want to get your opinion on it. So, Archie, our little dog.
Yep.
So we've got Herbie and Archie. So when you take your dogs for a walk, when I take my dogs for a walk, Archie really likes to back up a tree to go to the toilet to do a number 2.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you think that you don't have to pick that up if it's on the tree? So if it's sitting on the tree and it's not on the ground, is that play on not to pick it up? I just want to know for my own sake. Or do you think you got to pick it up regardless?
Look, I ain't going to lie, mate. I barely pick up the dog's shit as they're walking, which I probably shouldn't be saying that because I don't know if that's allowed. But so my answer is going to be just do the old dog. I'm just going to keep walking. What do you do?
I always pick it up, but sometimes I'm looking at it and I'm like, if you pick it up on the tree and it's stuck to the tree, and you go and pick it up, it just it sticks to the tree. So it's still on the tree. You can't actually get it. But I want to know,
tree, mate.
I want to know what's the fine line, Brado? What do you think?
You're asking the wrong bloke here. Ask Brado.
I feel like I'm rattled because I feel very strongly about this, and I've changed my complete opinion of Ads now because you have to pick up your dog poo.
Yes.
So now every time I see dog poo on the side of the footpath, I know that I look at those, I see the poop, and I look at it, and I just have this image in my head of this inconsiderate, selfish person. But to this point in time, they didn't have a face. Now, every time I walk out in the street and I see a pile of dog poo, I'm just going to think of Ads and just think the type of people that don't pick up after their dog, they just
hang on, I do.
No, you don't. Don't backpedal now.
Hear me out.
You're going to get cancelled. There's going to be news.com articles about this. You're going to be all over every website from now to the end of time, and I'm happy about it.
Hear me out. I take Sonny to all my footy sessions, so my coaching. We coach Monday and Wednesdays. Every time we get there, no word of lie, he takes a big shit on the footy field, and I pick it up every single time. So My strike rate's probably about 75%, Brado. It's just the rest of the time, turn the blind eye and just walk off.
I don't even know if I can trust the thing you say anymore. This has to be earned back.
For that bit.
I remember on another podcast, we interviewed Jared Roughhead, and he said that when he was finishing his career, he had to play a game down at Vic Park. And obviously that's a dog park when it's not a VFL footy park. And he said he knew the moment that his career was over as he slid in to take a mark at centre half forward and just slid through a massive pile of dog shit.
Oh, no.
Well, when Sonny shits on the oval out at Ross Reserve and Moodamere, I pick that up every single time. And my team can vouch for that because they see me pick the shit up.
That's nice.
But not on the nature strip.
Well, my dogs, in fairness, my dogs don't shit on the nature strip when I walk them. They're all shit near. You should see the friggin' basketball court. Is that much shit out
I've got him again. Oh, that is 2 weeks in a row that I've stumped you.
Just rattled.
I love it.
What was filming in on last week? Was that the anyway? Yeah, anyway, or was that the week before?
No, that was the week before, I reckon. No, last week was about the plane. The plane where you go in business.
I'm going to wrap this up with an anyway. See you, Brado. I'm getting out of here.
Oh, God. You're on watch now. If anyone in the chat sees...
If anyone in the neighbourhood, in the neighbourhood.
Sees ads out in the street, walking his dog,
please
get the photo.
Do. You'll know that my dogs do not shit. They do not shit when they go for a walk. Griffin shits here, and Sonny doesn't shit much at all. So,
jeez.
Good question, Josh.
I love it. All right. Last thing before we go is giveaways. So we're going to do another giveaway next week, but the challenge is this week, we want you to name what our AFL MVP award is.
Oh, yes.
So send in all your names for that award, and we'll choose the best one, and we might send a couple of hats your way, signed by Adzi and I. So before we wrap up, is there anything else from you, Brado? Anything else you got for us?
Just one win that I can give to Ads is that he's really toweling you up in the tipping early. He's 4 points ahead.
What is it?
It's 14-10.
4 points.
And then we've got to come up with a solution for the best and fairest votes, because I feel like round 0 was a scam because there was only 4 teams that played and we still handed out 3 votes.
Now, hang on, but that gets made up.
No, but it doesn't
later
really.
on in the year, doesn't it?
No, because every team will have a bye, but you still have to verse more teams.
True.
But that's all right.
True.
Just leave it. Just leave it. We'll just see at the end what it's like.
I don't think we have a clear winner for what it's worth either. And
it's good.
Dunks has 2 votes. It'd be an absolute... there'd be an investigation if Dunks managed to win the best and fairest. A couple of signed free hats.
It will be. That's a fair point, Brado. All right, I've got to stop giving him votes.
Yeah, so don't vote for me, Adam.
Okay, I won't, mate. Wrap it up, please.
All right. So, send in your best name for us for our AFL MVP award, and we'll send the winner a couple of signed hats. But thanks again, Azzy. Thank you to all our sponsors, Brooks Blooms and Chris Anderson Racing. We might have a special announcement coming over the next couple of weeks on another sponsor, so stay tuned for that one. But thanks again, Ads. All the best to your boys this week on Sunday down in over in the West. And, look forward to next week.
You too, mate. Good luck. Catch up.
All our sponsors, Brooks Blooms and Chris Anderson Racing. We might have a special announcement coming over the next couple of weeks on another sponsor, so stay tuned for that one. But thanks again, Ads. All the best to your boys this week on Sunday down in over in the West. And, look forward to next week.
You too, mate. Good luck. Catch up. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Brooks Blooms, your all-in-one landscaping solution.
Brooks Blooms' 3-step landscaping experience offers a seamless journey from design to construction and ongoing care, ensuring your outdoor space thrives year-round.
Visit brooksblooms.com today to embark on your landscaping journey, where every step is a step towards a vibrant and beautiful outdoor entertaining space.